So I'm going to lead this up as a live rebroadcast. I spoke about this before, a couple of videos that were pre-uploaded to my YouTube channel. I want to take off my glasses for this because I'm about to get more so in depth, more so in detail, break down experiences that I have been through, and why Rkelly is actually guilty, and why us in the black community, why we need to stop defending bad people that do this. Those that see this, may have kids. If you don't have kids, you might be an aunt or uncle with nieces and nephews. When it comes to turning a blind sheep, this is something that we need to stop in the black community because we refuse to have knowledge and education about this. Understand the concept of an older man having sexual relations with younger women has been around since the medieval times, where kings and queens used to pimp off their 14-year-old daughter to a guy that was in his 20s to his 30s at the most. They used to have kids together. A good majority of that even goes into the family heirloom, if you will, to where they pimped off their own to another family member. You had that back then. Even during the time of the Victorian era, of the Jack the Ripper era, a lot of his victims and a lot of the prostitutes then, were underage, and a lot of older men were paying for a time, if you will. During those times, nobody had a problem with it. About where the 60s and 70s take place, Rkelly's from Chicago, so we're going to begin there, most definitely. Around that time, you had a lot of cases that were left ignored, never bothered to be solved when it came to younger women found dead, or younger women of rape charges, or younger women that had children by older men. Some came from broken homes with no parents, abusive background, a background of drug abuse. Some came from sheltered lives who just wanted that experience of that other life. So a lot fell into older men. Don Magic Wand said it the best. The reason why a lot of these older men today who try to be pimps, they're not confident in their game enough to pitch it to an older woman, so they're going to try on a younger child, a younger woman that's 13, 14, 15 years old. And that's what Rkelly done. Rkelly experiences go back with his mother. It's obvious, how he talks about her, that he doesn't hate her, but they had a sexual relationship together. This is something that is real, something that does take place in the hood, in the ghettos. It exists, but you don't hear about it unless you get down here, down south, and then you see shit really heavily advertised, but that's going to be a bit later on. He even said he was sexually attracted to his mother, and she used to discipline him. How that plays into the mindset of somebody like that gives them the signal in them growing up, like it's okay to have sex with older women. And when you're a young guy doing that with an older woman, that's how it begins out. When you start trying to do what Rkelly did when he gets older to younger women. When you get older as an older guy, you're going to be attracted to younger women. Younger women are more easily manipulated or more easier to brainwash. Holding somebody against their will is considered as imprisonment. That has been around for him. By the time he was doing this was for a long time. Very long time in his life. And you can tell that who knows how many younger women Rkelly had sex with, how many that he might have actually impregnated. Or he raped. You know, I think reason why, before he was famous, why some of that may have never came out is because he had to use intimidation because he didn't have money then. You know, money brings power, brings protection. We will get back to that as well. So, you go and you have this long rap sheet that was never heard of, but you know that it exists. Rkelly decided to bring himself into that era during the mid-'80s, which was around 85, by the time pimping was considered human trafficking. Human trafficking, you know, when keeping evidence of proof and stuff like that, when it comes to having sex, you know, you're going to have Polaroid cameras. Polaroid cameras are like square cameras that take instant photos that instantly develop. Or video cameras that take VHS tapes. You're going to keep those for your own viewing pleasure, or you're going to sell those into the black market and the underground market to others that are in your field. Again, you know, around that time, especially going into the 90s, a lot of older men that wanted to be pimps couldn't be pimps enough because their game wasn't that strong to pitch an older woman like it is to a younger one, underaged. The 90s were a time of kidnapping, child molestation. A lot of underage girls who went missing and who were never found because of human trafficking. Human trafficking would involve being sold to out of state, even out of the country, sold as sex slaves, or sold in the black market as human organs, if you will. Where I stay at here in Tennessee and Columbia. Again, this is going to be left as a rebroadcast here on IG, but will be saved to be uploaded to my YouTube channel. There's a lot of sexual offenders who got located to a trailer park called Countryside Trailer Park. You guys have to excuse me if I'm pausing right now and closing my eyes because I'm about to get into a really dark conversation with an experience. Okay. Back in 97, maybe 96 at the most, they couldn't put any more sexual offenders in that trailer park, obviously. It was too jam-packed. One of the older routes to go in and out of Nashville, one of the older entries to the Nashville Highway that people don't take no more, where a statue used to be at, with a lot of flags around it. There used to be a house, and there was a guy who was a sexual offender, and we didn't know. We didn't know that he had a partner who was in jail. One of my friends, who I don't even consider a friend anymore, he had a problem with two of my other friends who were twins, two twin girls who lived right up the street from me, and they didn't get along. He would go and he would meet this individual who just suddenly out of nowhere one day popped up in the neighborhood, tried to talk to a lot of his kids. I guess he would have a camera, but we never paid attention to the camera. We were kids, we're not going to pay attention to certain things at times. His partner one day in 97 on Halloween is actually the day that he broke out on the 30th. On the 31st on Halloween, they kidnapped those two girls, and they beaten and raped those girls and hung them behind a red fence. It used to be located right behind the post office. It was I think a basketball court. It's no longer there. They tore it down. The only one that's left is a green fence with a tennis and basketball court that's been secured off because of that incident. And that was bought by a school called King's Daughters that owns that property, which is a place for people with special needs, kids with special needs who can't go to a regular school because of that. By the time November 1st came around, the guy was on the news. The guy's partner was on the news for breaking out. By the time they found him, it was like, oh, this is your partner. Come to find out, they both were sexual predators, sexual offenders. They stormed the guy's house, and they found photos of kids hanging on the wall. I don't know what happened to them. I know they got arrested. I don't know if they ever got out, and I don't care to know. The house now was torn down because of it. The thought that I could have been one of those kids, I probably was one of those kids with a photo hanging on that guy's wall when he took random pictures of kids. He would go around through the whole neighborhood. And it was the neighborhoods right behind the old Piggly Wigglies before you go into Spring Hill. You would have that. In the early 2000s, I used to be in Scouts. There was a woman, the Scoutmaster, and it was me, my mother, and, obviously her kids at her place at Countryside Trailer Park. No one knew she was a sexual offender herself. And one day she decided right there, we didn't know what she was doing on the computer when it came to email. Email at that time was AOL. Some may see this, may not know what AOL mail was. She got a hold of my older sister's email, and she sent her certain pictures. I'm just going to say that. That was reported. Come to find out, she sent them to other people. She did get busted, and she went to jail. She violated of the Sexual Offenders Conduct Code. Her kids did get taken away. The pool over there, I wouldn't recommend nobody going in it. Around that time, around that era, especially in the 90s, with a lot of those offenders over there, the pool is infested with STDs, sexual transmitted diseases of sorts. There were people that were reported coming out of there, later on, when they decided not to use it at that type of location, people who caught some things. So there's that. Back in 91, in New Jersey, there was a guy that kidnapped a girl. And I remember hearing about this case when it broke, because I was 21 years old when the case broke. He kidnapped this girl and pretty much raised her. I went to school every day, but he kept her in her backyard in a tent. And it's in a neighborhood where there's going to be close neighbors, but, you know, we had a very, very private fence. I forget how she was found, but she was alive. And I guess he had a partner in somewhere in New York, I think, if I remember correctly, who kidnapped a lot of women. And his partner decided, you know, he a lot of his victims, when they brought those bodies out on live TV, you know, these were victims buried inside the wall, buried down in the basement in the ground. And they were both registered as defenders, and both had cases of sexual rape charges towards underage women. So you have that. I have an uncle, you know, who been passed for quite some time. Right around the block where he used to stay at when he was alive, there was a guy. It's a place in Montana. There was a guy who no one, who did a lot of charity work, but there at a certain time, not just the late 90s, but especially in the early 2000s, you had a lot of missing murder cases of underage children. And this guy kidnapped kids and made food out of them and would feed it to the homeless shelter or donate food to the churches. So you have that. Next, we go into down here in the South, around the time when Aaliyah came on board. Rkelly lived down in Georgia then. This is when he was starting to get famous. Yeah, Aaliyah was 14, 15 years old. They definitely had a sexual relationship. They had a relationship. The South Coast is known as the gayest capital in the U.S. There's a lot of incest. There's a lot of black males down here in the South that are comfortable with the fact if their daughter's dating an older guy and they don't really care. If something happens, it happens. And I've actually heard that before, and even heard if she ends up getting raped, it's because she brought it on to herself. A lot of fathers don't care about their kids down here. It even goes to the point to where if you ever wonder why so many people look alike down here in the South, or when you hear such and such is related to this person that's married to this person but related to them, and you're thinking, so wait, you guys like family of cousins? A lot of it's incest. A lot of them marry their cousins. Closer the cousin, easier it goes in. Closer the kin, cousins make dozens, So you have that. A lot of those that have relations or had sex with underage girls, people that know about it, they champion that very, very heavily down here. They champion it. It's like a sport, if you will. An example, somebody that I know, two people. They're cousins. They have 2 kids together. They're married. But her husband, which is her cousin, has 2 rape charges. And everyone's okay with that. And she caught him with another woman in her car that was 14 years old. And this guy's in his mid-20s, by the way. And yet she still tries to be with him. And she still carries him highly. That's how lost we are down here. So Rkelly's set when it came to that. A lot of his underage victims are definitely down here, especially goes into the human trafficking. Yes, it takes a strong individual to come out one day and say, this is what happened to me. Everyone saw the footage. But when you have money, you can make things go away, because that protection is there, if you will. That protection is there. This is where now we get into why we need to have education in the black community. I want to use Michael Jackson and Rkelly right now as very good examples. We get statements of evidence that show that Michael's innocent, even though they didn't show a lot. And when they don't show a lot, it's because he was innocent. Us as black people in the black community, when we don't see that, we like to call it out as guilty. And we tend to want to protect fake victims rather than real victims. And we hold these fake victims so highly, why we tend to shame and bash somebody that is innocent, who has been cleared and proven as such. Now, yet a lot they ended up releasing later on to show the evidence that, yes, Michael was innocent, even though he was having money problems at the time. But there was a lot there that showed that he was innocent, and yet we still chose to bash him. I've always been a Michael fan, so I didn't bash him. But we decided to hold these fake victims even now after 20-something years later. When, Leaving Neverland came out. Oh, we need to hold these victims highly even though they were fake victims. But then after everything and more proof came out by a lot of the, not the brothers, but their children, the children of Neverland, a lot of Michael's nieces and nephews, they came out with a lot of stuff. And then everyone turned to the victims, to the fake victims, say, okay, you guys were fake, you guys lied. And the original airing showed a lot of shit that showed that they were lying. It's easier to believe a lie than the truth. It's easier to believe a lie, all right, than the truth. And then you take somebody like Rkelly, shows evidence of, yes, he's done this. DNA, blood tests, urine samples, sperm samples, hair follicles, statements, payoffs to show that he wanted to keep the families quiet, transfer receipts. All right. Keeping a stash of photos and tapes for his own viewing or to sell to others in his market. Much more was found. Keeping these girls underage till they got of age and getting older, keeping them locked up is pretty much being held hostage. His money's gone, so that protection is gone. When he got called out in that interview, she was drilling him, but not in a mean way. But you know what? He showed that he was guilty because based off somebody's body actions and how they react to things, you can tell. If you, let's say, somebody has a problem with you, but you may not have a problem with them, right? You're going to let stuff go for a while. You know, you're going to let it slide. You're going to be calm until one day it gets agitated and you're going to snap, but you're not going to snap loudly. You're just going to give it to them. You see what I'm saying with that? But when you know you're being pressed and that guilt is finally coming onto you, all that pressure, and you start to break down and starting to act out like he is right now, looking a certain way, it's because what you did, it's all coming back towards you. So when you jump and shout, want to start hitting things, that's called guilt. That's called guilt. Now, in most cases, yeah, we may have been in situations where we got blamed for something we didn't do. And when we get constantly blamed, you're like, yeah, we're going to snap, but we ain't going to snap like that. You see? From there, we go to, again, us as black people, when we see actual hard-hitting evidence of him being guilty, we want to turn the other way and say he's innocent because we champion the bad guys, why we down the real victims. And when Rkelly got out of jail a couple months ago, a lot of the black men was here championing Rkelly, but saying a lot of shit, harsh stuff to the victims that were real and downing them. Because we don't care. And I said it before. If you're a black man, you have a child, and something happens to that child, in that kind of a scenario, you're not going to give a fuck. If anything, you're going to want to get money out of it and still get money out of it some way, shape, or form. But you're going to give a shit if that child dies. I guarantee you will. But then you're really going to want to see him go away once his money runs out, like it's been doing. Again, once that money's gone, that protection is gone. And once those transfers stop, those parents are going to start coming out then defending their kids who are now grown women, but still victims. Because us as black people down here in the South, we have no fucking spine. We bend over, kiss ass, lick kneecaps, and suck boots. And we're fucking sellouts. Especially when it comes to that almighty fucking dollar. That's what we are down here in the South. That's how we do. We tend to turn the other way. But I guarantee if that child dies, your child is still your child regardless if they're now an adult. Then you're going to care. You're going to want to see him brought to justice, and that's what's happening. His daughter was bullied on social media. I guarantee you the reason why she never spoke out and why she didn't get a chance to and why she tried to take her life, Rkelly was doing shit to his daughter. You have fathers that do that to their daughters. You do. Down here in the South, it takes place, man. It takes place. Because she knew a lot of things were now going. He knew that his time has come. Money's gone. The guilt of her own self built up inside. Because she was fighting a war like, should I testify against my father? Because the lifestyle that I'm used to living is now going away. But the shit he did to me, I knew it was wrong. But the reason why I kept quiet, because the money was there, even though this was happening. Then you had her being also bullied. I guarantee you that's the reason why she committed suicide. It all just came like that. But yet we still choose to champion a sick person like Rkelly. As far as he's concerned, he may have actually pawned off his daughter on other people in his market to run through her. That kind of thing happens. But we turned a blind eye to it because he's an entertainer. See, that's why we refuse to be, that's why we're so uneducated as black people when it comes to that. Is we turn a blind eye to that shit, man. We turn a blind eye to it. Take Birdman, for example. Birdman from Louisiana is exactly just as bad when it comes to that. He was fucking Lil Wayne as a child. Kissing 3 times, you just don't do that. Especially with evidence like that. And then, to even paint it more so, video came out so many months ago. He was down in Memphis with a teenage boy in the studios. Teenage boy was in his boxers, pretty much shirtless, dancing in front of Birdman to a song that sounded like shit. And Birdman is just there in the background like, yeah. Birdman pimps little boys. A lot of those that he fucked over in his label came out and who were underage and came out with statements because they couldn't take shit anymore because he did things to them. But you know what? They ended up disappearing because I believe he got him killed off. So Birdman's a sick individual too. He likes little boys. He likes boy butt. The reason why it got caught, his time ain't come yet, but it will. It's only a matter of time. Yeah. Only a matter of damn time, man. Why do you think you don't see him with women, but you see him around men? Because he likes men. He likes dick. He likes young dick. So that's why you need to know the difference when it comes to R. Kelly. There's people like that. But yeah, we still champion. We tend to down real victims and champion fake victims. We tend to bash people that are innocent, especially when it comes to evidence that shows that they are innocent. But then we tend to turn the other way and say real evidence is fake evidence, and the people that actually did it, we like to champion them as innocent. May not care now, but if your child ever gets hurt and ends up with their life lost because of somebody like that, oh, you're gonna give a shit then. Right now, R. Kelly's answering for a lot of shit. And it's all about to come crashing down. And then when it finally happens, I guarantee you're gonna be like, oh shit, that nigga really is guilty, man. Fuck R. Kelly. I'm gonna say fuck R. Kelly now. You were championing the motherfucker for years. Give another example. A grown man doesn't get a tattoo of an underage boy on his chest. Just like an underage boy doesn't get a tattoo of a grown-ass man on his. Who am I talking about? Kevin Gates and NBA Youngboy. They're butt buddies, bone smuggling buddies. I broke down a video that I have on my channel called NBA Youngboy Funny Style. There's a lot of stuff with him kissing on his homeboys. And so you see what I'm getting at with this, man. That's why you got to know the difference. Why you need to be educated and go through certain things. So yeah, R. Kelly is finally getting his just due.
So, I want to add a little clip to this R. Kelly Know the Difference video. There's one example that I forgot about, but I want to add it in, and it's a video that surfaced over the winter time of this year, before it got to summer. And it's a video that surfaced on Facebook, so some of you may know what I might be talking about. So, of course, you know, it took place in the black community. Single mother, and she has a boyfriend. Her daughter, which is 14 years old, kept trying to tell her mother, like, look, your boyfriend's been bothering me, and before it got physical, right, he proceeded to sexually rape her. The daughter told the mother right away. And this is an example of what I'm talking about. Like, we tend to ignore the problem. We decide to champion the people that are doing this to take their defense versus the people who are victims, who are, what's the word I'm looking for with this one? To down them. When the daughter told the mother said, well, look at you, you dress like a whore, you dress like a slut. Gym clothes ain't got nothing to do with that statement. Okay, you're gonna wear laxing clothes, like, look, no, what I got on, this is my lounge around shirts like this that come from the dollar store. Regular type of gym shorts, lounge around shorts is what I call them. And the mother kept threatening the daughter, like, why are you lying? I'm gonna call the cops. Even threatened her own daughter to say, I'm gonna kill you if you don't stop. When that happens, when that takes place, it usually means the boyfriend is beating the mother's ass behind closed doors, and he's taking her money. So she's actually in fear of her life as well. So that's what that means. So that right there is an example of, again, we hold the people that are guilty and we down the people who are victims. So, again, the mother, the reason why she's taking her boyfriend's side is because the boyfriend is beating her ass. So I just want to add that, and I'm out.